secret Stanford's laying. "This is a horrible death to die." Those were the last words of Jane Stanford, who was poisoned in 1905. It was an unexpected end for the beloved co-founder of Stanford University. In 1891, Jane and husband Leland Stanford, a railroad baron and senator, created Stanford University as a memorial to their only son. 2 years later, the senator died, and Jane took over. For years, Jane bankrolled Stanford, and oversaw nearly every aspect of its management. In 1904, she was about to fire Stanford President David Starr Jordan, who wasn't creating the school that Jane thought her husband had intended it to be. But around that time, Jane's daily glass of mineral water tasted bitter. She spit it out, and submitted the bottle of water for testing. The results showed that her drink had been laced with strychnine. Frightened and ill, Jane fled to sunny Hawaii with her trusted secretary, Bertha Burner. She seemed to be safe, but on February 28, 1905, she drank another tainted glass and, despite the best efforts of Hawaii's doctors, died of strychnine poisoning. If you never knew that the founding mother of Stanford was murdered, that's because Stanford's president wanted things that way. When Jordan arrived in Hawaii to return Jane's body to California, he announced that the Hawaiian medical experts were all incompetent and Jane had actually died of natural causes. He even paid an inexperienced doctor who'd never examined Mrs. Stanford while alive to write a report that she died of heart failure. This explanation prevailed until 2003, when Stanford's medical professor Dr. Robert Cutler published his investigative book The Mysterious Death of Jane Stanford, which used medical evidence to show that Jane had been poisoned. So whodunit? Jane's secretary was present at both poisonings but was said to lack a motive since she led a more comfortable life with her employer than without her. The person who had a motive was President Jordan. Jordan's vision for Stanford had often been blocked by an uncultured old woman, as one member of the faculty called Jane. Instead of getting fired, Jordan stayed on as president, and his vision for the college prevailed, with a strong emphasis on the sciences. We'll never know what Stanford, the university most closely connected to the inventive technology of Silicon Valley, would have been like today if Jane had remained in control, just like we'll probably never know who killed her. A New York first. On the evening of December 22, 1799, Gulielma Elma Sands left her home in a Manhattan boarding house, after confiding to her cousin that she was marrying her fellow boarder, Levi Weeks. She wasn't seen again until January 2, 1800, when her body was discovered in the Manhattan well. Elma's demise produced a list of firsts in U.S. history. For starters, it was New York's first scandalous murder mystery. According to their fellow boarders, Levi and Elma were lovers, which was quite shocking in 1799. Handbills and newspapers proclaimed that Levi had promised Elma marriage, then murdered her. Fascinated New Yorkers read that, on the night of the murder, residents heard Elma and Levi leaving the house at the same time. Only half an hour later, witnesses heard screams near the well. That was also the area where people claimed they'd seen a horse-drawn sleigh carrying 2 men and a woman. Both horse and sleigh resembled those owned by Levi's brother, Ezra. By the time Levi went to trial on March 31, crowds were yelling, "Crucify him." Fortunately for Levi, his brother had something that still figures prominently in American justice: money. Ezra hired 3 famous defense attorneys, including 2 founding fathers, former Secretary of the Treasury Alexander Hamilton, and future Vice President Aaron Burr. He also hired future Supreme Court Justice Harry Livingston. Over a century before the notorious trial of O.J. Simpson made the term famous, Levi was defended by the first legal dream team. Levi's savvy lawyers devised a strategy for creating reasonable doubt in jurors' minds. That's still in use today. They presented alternative murder theories by casting suspicion on another boarder, Richard Croucher, and even plausibly demonstrated that Elma could have jumped into the well to commit suicide. They attacked Elma's character by claiming that she'd slept with her married landlord, and they established alibis for Levi with their own witnesses, while planting doubts about the prosecution's witnesses. In 1800, trials could run into the wee hours, and Levi's sensational trial ended at 2 a.m. after 2 days of proceedings. A possibly tired and cranky judge announced that the prosecution hadn't proved its case and made it clear that Levi should be declared not guilty. Within 10 minutes, the exhausted jurors complied. Somehow, the court clerk stayed awake to transcribe everything, making this America's first recorded criminal trial. Most New Yorkers remained convinced of Levi's guilt. Legend has it that Elma's death affected American history in one last way. Elma's angry cousin supposedly put a curse on Hamilton, who was shot to death in a famous duel. The disgraced shooter was Burr, whose life and career were never the same.